Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am Dr. Lori Monaco, the badass Buddha, coming to you from Southern Connecticut on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Good morning, good morning. We already have people jumping on, our regular Tiffany, Brian, and Chenille, real deal. Good morning. So good morning. I am the Badass Buddha. I am your chiropractic physician, your teacher, speaker, coach, specializing in mindfulness practice and transformation, and your weight loss specialist. So good morning. Attica Bolahala in the house.
Good morning. Buenos días, Tiffany, Chenille, Erica. Good morning. Bienvenidos a Viva Café con Leche. I am your gladiator guru.
And
I am happy and grateful to be up this morning because I really didn't want to get up. I am your spiritual and creative healing life coach, your end of life doula. I am your writer, your artist, your author, your notary. I am the CEO and founder of Cricket's Whispers.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Been my baby since 2012. And I don't really give her enough time in the spotlight. So Cricket's Whispers, me time. It's where you learn how to silence the voices in your mind and listen to the whisper of hope. Good morning, mi gente. And welcome to Viva Café con Leche. As I was going to say when I was going to interrupt you, that video still gets me going. It makes me
I know. And we keep forgetting that we have got to take care of that situation. So when we first got that opening intro, that Francia created for us, she picked the song because it was free, and that's what you do when you're the individual who creates things like she does. You go for the free stuff, right? And I guess because we were using it so much, because YouTube, this is what happens. YouTube says copyright infringement, and then they double check it, and then they say, okay, it passed, it's fine, right? So we passed all of these until about 2 months ago, when I happened to notice on the emails that it wasn't passing. And so when there's a copyright infringement, they dampen the sound on the replay. So if you're watching it afterwards, they dampen the sound, right? And what must have happened is that the person who created it must have seen that we were using it for the show and using it more often. And now they've created a copyright claim. So we either have to contact the individual to get the rights to use it. So it means we have to pay for it, which is fine, depending on what it is, because we love that tune. Or we have to just pay somebody else to create a new tune. So it's one of those things that we sort of forget about. Like, we don't remember until we're broadcasting. And then we say afterwards, oh, we got to contact the person. And then we totally forget.
Yeah, we have to. And mi gente, for those out there, Iritza, hi, mama. Thank you,
Morning,
Tiffany.
Iritza.
I wish Iritza said her grandson said about you.
My grandson looks like, I look like Elsa. Oh no, there it is. I look like Elsa.
Like 2 weeks ago, we had a Tuesday and a Thursday that we really delved deep into emotional, seasonal sadness and everything. And we shared a lot, and, still gets me going.
Oops, sorry.
Okay. So, I just want all the packages have been shipped out. You should be receiving it by the end of the week. If you can, at your leisure, since I delayed, I added an extra little gift in it because of the delay, So if you can, when you get it, take a picture of your mug and in your swag, your t-shirt and your mug. That'll be awesome. And again, sorry for the delay, but we did add an extra little touch to it because first the delay was really not my fault. It was the receiving of the boxes. So good. I'm gonna stick to that.
Listen, and I've gotta really give kudos to Gladiator Guru, because She was delayed, but boy, she has good reason to be delayed. I mean, yes, the boxes were what delayed her, but man, did she go above and beyond with what she created. It's just absolutely fabulous. She was showing me, and she's created even more merchandise that may or may not go up for sale anytime soon, but she just totally outdid herself. And then plus she was showing me her space where she was doing it. It was like a hot mess because she was just trying to do so much in such a short period of time, so many different things. So she cleaned it all up. It's all organized. And I'm really proud of her because it is gorgeous. Gorgeous. Some of the stuff that, like, all the stuff that she made is gorgeous, but then she did this really, really exceptionally hot, cool stuff. And she and I both are sparkly people. We love like bling. And she did a few bling stuff. And I was just like, dang, I love that thing. It's so pretty.
It is.
Yeah, you rocked it, man. I got to tell you, you really did.
Once I get more of it, that was a tester. Then we'll display it like for holiday colors. But yeah, so accept my apology. You should be receiving your stuff soon. And espero que le gusten. Y si no, there's no refunds. So you better like it.
Oh my God, you're so funny. I love that. So good. So how was your weekend? So this weekend was an interesting weekend, right? This was 20 years on Saturday, was September 11th, 2001. I wasn't really on a lot of social media. I ended up posting a day late for what I wanted to post, but the few that I did scroll down, they were just absolutely phenomenally beautiful. A friend of mine who I put in my post, he's a chiropractor. He volunteered up there for 8 months at Ground Zero. He posted a picture of he and his son went to go visit the memorial, which is the church that we all volunteered at. And he and his son, they took pictures, and he was thrilled that his son, who's a teenager, went with him. And I really gave kudos to him because, like, I volunteered there. I did 6 weeks of volunteer. I can't remember now. I think I did 6 weeks of volunteering, but 8 sessions. But he did it for 8 months, that. And as a result, he has to get checked every year because of his lungs, because he was up there breathing in all of that. So anybody who was over there for an extended period of time has to do that. But it was beautiful to see some of the tributes. And, we're all a group that was alive and kicking. We were all young adults when this happened, whereas some people that I know weren't, like, my kids weren't even born. Like, well, one kid was, but the other 2 weren't even born when it happened. And there's kids that were children.
Old because my kids were 15 and 11.
Yeah, but you had your kids young, though. So you were still a young woman,
I was in my early 30s. I remember that day as if it was yesterday. And 4 days later, I had already pre-purchased tickets to New York from Orlando. And 4 days later, JetBlue had just opened. And I got on the JetBlue flight, and for $50, I flew into JFK, and it was silence.
Oh.
And you can still see the smoke coming up from the towers when you were driving over the bridge. And it was
very surreal.
It was a very grief-stricken moment for the nation. I think that united everyone from every corner of America.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, I was right there in it. My cousin was gracious enough to take, she probably wasn't supposed to do it, but the first night that I volunteered there, she was an FBI agent, and she and her other agents took me around in a golf cart, and it looked like a movie scene. Like, it was because I did an overnight, that my shifts were always overnight because I would work all day at the office, and then I would go in, and it was bright lights because they had the lights because they were working 24/7. And it just looked like a movie set because you're looking at this rubble and just soot everywhere. And you're like, what is this? Like, this can't be.
You not want to cry. Like I didn't even watch it this time. Because it's just in my seasonal sadness, but it was every time I would hear or listen to stories or watch something that, the movies they made of it was just like, so Shania, I feel you, because I was in Florida, I was in Orlando actually, and I cried and cried, and it was just like a devastation until today. I think that's something that's never going to leave us. Thank you, Desiree. So and to honor all those people that have given up their lives for it, because they've all been trickling off since then.
Yes, that's true.
And that they finally acknowledged that they were getting sick because of what happened. Because remember, at first it wasn't. So
oh yeah. Listen, there had to be, because when I was there about 6 weeks after it happened. And the smell in the air was just unbelievable. And could you imagine, that was then? Could you imagine what it was like when it was, before? So, okay. So let's talk. So real quick, what are you drinking this morning? We'll go into our intention, and we'll get Bridget Richard on, because this is a great topic and we need to get going on it. So this is what I'm working on today. I have fuel and I got unleaded. I switched temporarily to decaf just to see what's going on with me, because I've had some sleeping issues, and so I'm sort of cleansing myself, and I'm back on the program again, because I've allowed myself to eat some things that I shouldn't have. So it's time for me to cleanse some stuff. So what are you drinking? It's pretty good, I have to say. I've had fuel before. I've had the regular.
You want to hear a joke?
Sure.
Decaf. Because I have to adult for 6 weeks, and I've come to the realization through other times that I've had to like forced to adult, that I don't want to be here. This isn't my place. Like, where's Peter Pan when I need him?
Oh.
I am drinking this. Look at, and it's light fucking roast.
Oh my God. Donut store. That's like, where'd you get that from? From the dollar store.
Aldi's. I don't buy food at the dollar store.
I know, just kidding. But no, Aldi's, right? Aldi's is a discount store. So
no, it's not. Aldi's is known as being an organic store. They're
really?
just cheap because they don't advertise.
Nice. I love it. Look at Chanel wrote. She goes, I hate being forced to adult.
It's like I want to run away from home, and it's my house. But yeah, I finally had to go out yesterday and get that, because I was just putting like one little teaspoon of my espresso, and it was still like mud without my. And it's funny, because anybody who knows me know I like my coffee dark. I don't like a creamy café con leche. I like it dark.
I do.
With one sugar, dark and bitter. But just going to black, I had to go light. I had to see, am I a victor in this scenario in my life right now?
Oh, nice tie-in.
Look, Janine got laughing me and coffee cup.
Yes.
But you know what? It's like anything with life. It's about adapting. It's about adapting until you figure out how to get on the other side of it. So my donut store blend that you assumed it was from the dollar store, probably is. I probably can go in there and find it. I don't know. I bought mine at Aldi's for $3.
All right, then.
Oh, Richie, good morning.
Yeah, we have a lot of people. So Po Richie's on. Good morning. Janine, good morning. We had Michelle Imar Rivera. Good morning. Desiree is on. Good morning. Dory DeCarlo, good morning. Francia Argenis, good morning. Good morning. And what does Chanel say? And then we'll do our intention. I cheated and went to Starbucks today because I had to come into the office. I was running late and I had a gift card. Isn't that funny? We just justify. We need the gift card to get through Starbucks. I hate to spend money out buying coffee. Sometimes though, it's nice to treat yourself though. It is nice to say, you know what? I'm just going to get a cup of coffee outside today. I used to get it all the time, but I actually prefer brewing my own now. But I love Starbucks. I've been hearing a lot of, us conspiracy theorists.
I've been hearing a lot of things, how one of the founders back in the day, Schultz, when they first started, is Bill Gates' father. But I love Starbucks. It's like second nature. Like if I have to have coffee out, Starbucks is my first option. Dunkin' Donuts is never an option. And I'm sorry for you DD lovers. I don't. That's like drinking decaf. Pun intended. But yeah, so Starbucks is good. Nancy Green, I hate looking at my bank statement because of Starbucks. I know. But you know what? We have to allow ourselves simple pleasures in life daily, even if it's one time a day, so that we have the strength and the energy to deal with all the other bullshit.
Okay, that being said, let's set the intention for today and the mantra, and then we will bring on our fabulous guest, Bridget. So the intention today is, because we're going to be talking about victim or victor, this is the intention we're going to set for today, that today I will be my own super fucking hero. I know Gladiator Guru loves saying that, so
well,
today I am my own super fucking hero. If you don't want to use the F word, right? If you don't want to use I'm sorry, but doesn't the feather look like something else? And then you have the lips. I always laugh at this. I want that exact thing. It's a very phallic feather, I have to say. So anyway,
I made a couple shirts,
but that's it. Simple. And if you don't want to use the F word, that's totally fine. You just say,
if you're gonna be your hero, be your own super fucking hero. That's it.
All right, mantra.
The mantra is be loud about the things that move you. Be loud about the things that move you. It don't matter who thinks you're loud, who thinks you're obnoxious. Be you, be proud, and stand in your truth. So be loud about the things that move you, and don't give a fuck about who's saying anything on your side.
All right. And with that,
I'm a victor. I don't compromise to appease anybody. So salute.
So with that, let's bring our guest up. So Bridget Richard, she's a psychotherapist, personal and professional development coach. She has master's, LISW-S, all those letters behind. I never know what half of them mean, but she can say is a psychotherapist as well as a personal professional development coach with 20 plus years experience, a wife, mother, and 7-figure business owner. That's it. That's what I'm talking about, lady. She knows the struggle to maintain work and home in harmony. That is why she's passionate about helping others to conquer feelings of anxiety and depression caused by burnout. She helps her clients from being too frustrated and overwhelmed to enjoy life, to become focused, empowered, and re-energized. Bridget enjoys bringing her message of strength and empowerment to people across the country through speaking engagements, educational seminars, and individual coaching. And she's on here to talk about being a victor or a victim. And there she is, Bridget in the house.
Hola.
Hello, ladies. How are you this morning? You have more energy. My goodness gracious.
And I had to do crap, and she's talking crap about it. And I'm doing pretty good. How are you? How is everything?
The things that move you.
Well, let's see. I think the Starbucks conversation is definitely going to be moving me this morning. I'll tell you that much.
All right. So let's just dive right into this. So when we had the pre-conversation with Bridget, we had picked this topic because we had started to pick the topics, and she's like, "Oh, I like that one." So tell everybody first a little bit about what you do, and then let's just jump right into what your thoughts are on victimhood and victory, in our lives. So let everybody know how they, who you are and what you're doing, and what LISW-S stands for.
That would help. It's not 100% important, but if you're going to have the letters after your name, right? I am a licensed independent social worker supervisor. So in addition to, 20 years of working in mental health and helping people with all their emotional and mental health needs, and those are both separate and related at the same time, which I think ties into our conversation today. I also have a master's degree and, passed all the tests and keep up with the every 2 years of CEUs and all the wonderfulness that keeps me current on the subject, right? And then on top of it, I figured, I must be bored because I have the 2 kids and the husband and the house and the family and the whole 9 yards. So why not do something else on top of it? So I realized that people want to hear. They want to hear about personal development. They want to hear about how all this stuff applies to their daily life, because our lives are not made out of just single big events. People want to talk about the big events. They want to post about the big events, but our daily lives are made up of, whether I got the laundry done today, whether I got my kids to school on time, whether or not I got Starbucks today, or I found the best new, dark roast coffee on the planet, and that made me happy for that moment. It's made up of the little moments, right? So I started talking to folks around the country, mostly via Zoom, because this, of course, happened over the last year and a half, just about how to be more present in their lives and how to use the skills that we think we learned by osmosis as we were growing up, but we didn't. And so we are continuing to develop in ourselves. And I think the permission to allow ourselves not to know everything and to continue to learn separates those people, the people who are struggling more from the people who appear to be succeeding. And I say appear to be because we all have our struggles.
Yeah, I do like the word appear, because I think that's why people get so stressed with social media, because if they're having a rough time and they're looking at somebody posting their stuff and they're like, oh, it's not that. I don't think a lot of people inherently mean to be jealous or envious or things like that. I just think they get so frustrated. And when they see what's being posted and they look at their life and they say, oh, that's just not fair. So they play the victim, but but it's not always what seems to be, like people. I mean, I know, we all know this, but to really know it is, it puts it into a different perspective. So whatever you're seeing on social media isn't always the big picture. For some people, I know a lot of them where there's some people that it is, it is that great and it's wonderful. But I also know some people who it's not that great, and then they post very specific things. And I'm okay with that too, as long as I'm aware of it, because I don't think we should always put the negative stuff on there. It's good to celebrate your wins,
Yes.
when we look at it that way on social media.
So,
no,
lead me in. What was the last thing that we talked about? That's going to apply to victim or victor today. Where do you ladies want to go with this?
What do you think, Gladiator Guru?
Let's talk about what you were just saying, because it's quite interesting. There are a lot of people, let's talk about social media with the victim, victor. Like, you have people who won't even hit like on your stuff because they feel victimized, like they're comparing themselves to them, right? So it's that blame mentality. How come them, not me? And the excuses. And I think, we don't have to stick to the social media. I'm using that as
it's like a springboard, yeah.
People, and then they're like, well, I'm not like that, but for that moment. And it's like, I think we're all guilty of it to some extent, because wherever we might be at. But what is it? Are we gonna sit there and blame somebody for trying to make something of their life and putting the effort and putting themselves out there so that they can be held accountable to it? Because that's what happens most of the time.
Yes.
A lot of my posts are about my book. I want people, I'm trying to get my book out there and marketing my book. So my girl puts a lot of posts up that has to do with my book. And I look fabulous in the photos, don't get me wrong, but that's the whole intention, because I only have 2 looks, Bridget. I go from beautiful to homeless. There's no in between. When I'm home, the bra's off, the OT, my comfort clothes go on. I have my ears rolled up here in the middle, but I got my earrings on. But but I know I can walk out to the store looking like that because I am who I am no matter what I have on, right? So it's like I take ownership of who I am. But then there's those moments, those seasonal sadness moments, but playing the victim role, which I've lived with people like that.
I was that person.
And because I was blessed to live with someone like that, then I'm never like I'll say, this struck me weird. I don't like this, or like, what the fuck is this? But then it's like, okay, what am I doing to make it different? You know, they said
that's it right there.
Yeah.
Is turning it around and saying, okay, that is them in this moment. We're filled with moments. It is just one moment at a time and little bitty snapshots. And as soon as that moment is over, we have a chance to reflect on it and make a decision, A or B.
Absolutely.
Right. And when we come into those moments, whether we're a little envious and we're like, okay, well, why am I envious? Because they just posted a picture from Fiji, right? Well, I'm envious because I want to travel. Well, and this is the question, did I make a decision not to travel? Right. And in this current situation, I am making the decision not to travel, right? Because of everything that's been going on. Then I have to own that decision. And I think that's where we all get stuck because we are not victims. We are people who have made itty bitty decisions throughout our days that's led us to a certain point of view, a certain decision, a certain situation. And we have the power to change that decision, but that means that we have to admit that we had the power to get ourselves there in the first place.
Correct. The accountability.
And that stinks.
Yes.
But it really does.
I think that is fucking empowering for me.
No,
it is. It is.
Like
once
that.
you get past the ouch of, oh yeah, that's right, I got myself here.
Yes. That's
and
what it is.
So when I see like a victim because I was raised by one, it's like, I don't have time for them. They like suck the life out of me from my big toe and they leave me like an overcooked spaghetti. And I don't like people having that much power over me, you know? So then I get angry and now I'm a twisted up salty pretzel. So don't take me to each extreme, but yeah, absolutely. Carry on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bridget.
You're right, Bridget, you're right, because that's what it comes down to. It's the accountability piece is that when we take accountability, see, it's easy sometimes for people to play the victim because then they don't take any responsibility. They say, oh, it's destiny. It's not my fault. It's somebody else's problem. And they take it and they just completely let go of it. And then it's much easier to make excuses. Right. Because if they screw up, if they F up, they can't blame somebody else if you're the victor. But the reason Gladiator Guru is saying that she chose early in life not to be that person.
Right.
I was the other person. I was the victim. And it took me to have to really work on myself to get out of that headspace. And every so often it will come back in, it's a slippery little fucker sometimes. And it'll slide back in if I'm tired, if I'm just drained, that will start to come. But then I have to redirect by what you said is reflecting, being aware of it and reflecting, which is huge.
And I will add another piece. And that is, I always say the most dangerous place for anybody is inside their own head.
Oh yeah.
And so when we're stuck in our own head and we are stuck in our maladaptive patterns, getting in and getting some new information, some new input from some outside sources, trusted outside sources is good. And even if they're not so trusted, it's okay to look at people's opinions that are vastly different from ours to see how did they arrive at that? Is there, kind of double checking ourselves. Do I need to be in this headspace? Is there another headspace I can be in? Why is this person in that headspace? Why is it challenging me so much? And just listening to it openly to see, what it triggers and how you can react to that in a different way. And that can be really helpful for people, not only inside their own heads, but outside the world. Just knowing there are other viewpoints that make up this very rich and vibrant world that we live in. And that's okay, because that doesn't have to be us. Because again, we are in charge of our choices.
Right. Exactly. And I think it's a lot of effort, in the beginning. Like if you've been a victim and then switching over, it's a lot of effort. And I think that's also part of the problem. I think people just sometimes don't want to put the effort. They're just like, oh, it's too hard. Because it makes you have to be, in order to be aware, you have to be conscious. And we live like about 95% of our day being subconscious, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as the programming is good. But for a vast majority of the people, the program is not so good. So we go through these habits and behaviors that have just been playing, for years. And so to switch it, you have to go conscious to reprogram and then go subconscious again. So I think it's a lot of effort, and people just say I don't want to be bothered to do it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right that we do spend a lot of the day on, almost remote control. We're just out there living our established patterns, right? Because it took us a long time to get into these established patterns, and developing new patterns takes a boatload of work. But I think that's where the whole mindfulness craze is coming in. And it's not a craze. It was just a return to living those small moments fully, right? Because we don't sit and enjoy our coffee. We grab our coffee on the go, right? We don't eat, our meals. We eat our meals at our desk. We, are we helping our kids with our homework? Are we sitting there just waiting for them to ask us for something because we happen to be scrolling our phone trying to catch up on social media, right? Why? Because our brains were so full of everything throughout the course of the day. Less is more. Less is always more. The less that we do every day, the better. I know that sounds crazy because we are programmed to do more with every day and to get the most out of every drop of life that we have. But when we're doing that, we're actually skimming over it, and we lead that skimming over it life, which leads to that victim mentality. Whereas if we just said, okay, I've got my social obligation, that I want to promote, whether it be my church or my community or whatever. I've got my family obligation and I've got my work obligation, and that's it. And then everything else is gravy. Everything else is that moment that I choose to put in because I have that time available. It's okay to be a little bit bored and to choose to be bored, because then we have time for those moments, and all those other moments will fill the void. And will grow to fill the blank parts of our life. I don't want to say blank. I'm not sure what I want to come up with. But we won't be as stressed because we can be present in that moment. And we will have the bandwidth to make decisions in that moment. And when you have the bandwidth, that changes everything, because then you're left with the ability to decide, do I want to take this fork or that fork in the road? And you're being present in that decision. And so you don't feel like a victim because you're present in that decision. You don't have to do anything. You choose to do it.
Right. But that is, mindfulness practice, accountability is the big piece, awareness, being present. And
yes.
But I want to know, where did that go? Why all of a sudden in society, Bridget and Badass Buddha, help me understand, because we were taught this in our project third floor apartment. We were taught how to be accountable for the choices we made. So where the fuck did it go? And how is now these words being so, loved on and used so much when it was something that, how did we forget it? We as a populace, how did we forget those simple things? You did this. Own up to it. Ownership, accountability. Where did it go? We were ready to do it.
We got overloaded. That's it. There's too much noise. We got overloaded. We have 24. I think we're all at the age where we remember that there was no 24/7 news at one point.
Yes,
there was no
24/7
TV at one point, right?
Remember back in the day, it used to go off. It did the sign, had the American flag, and then it would just go blank.
And you hear the white noise. You just would hear the white noise. Shh. I remember.
So we have 24/7 life. And for some people, that's fine. But for most of us, we need to be able to turn off at some point. And now we have social, right? We keep bringing it back to it, but that is hard. Why? Because if I'm sitting in there at 2:00 in the morning, I can be scrolling. And before, that was a built-in time where you would sit there with your own thoughts. It was almost meditative. Why? Because it's 2 a.m. and there was nothing else to do.
Correct.
And we don't have that anymore. So we are constantly busy. Our minds are constantly going. We constantly have new input. And it's not always filtered based on what would be helpful to us in that period of time. And that gets the anxiety going, and that gets the brain going. And what do? We try to cover it up with more stuff because we're told to be busy all the time.
Right.
Thank you for answering that.
And I also want to say something about that. I absolutely 100% agree with you, Bridget. Totally. In addition to that, we've seen media outlets, government officials, whatever, play off the discount that being accountable. We've seen them do that for years. We've seen in news, oh, it wasn't me. We have you on film. It's just like that Shaggy song. Just say it wasn't you. It wasn't me. Like it's and it's the truth. Like so we get this. Okay, so if an official could be up there and then lie through their teeth that it wasn't them and they're not taking accountability, and then when they do finally take accountability, it's so half-assed, and then over and over, you do this over and over again, then society starts to feel that way. It's just like, why are we so much credit card debt? Because nobody wants to take accountability. Listen, you used the credit card and spent thousands of dollars. Nobody forced you to do it. You did it. And now you don't want to pay for it, but you did it. So it's this thing that over the years we've gotten more and more. And I feel like it's almost purposeful. I think consumerism has fueled it. It's like all these things have fueled us being less accountable. And that mindfulness piece, I love how they put it up in a magazine like Time Magazine. I love how they write about it. The science of mindfulness is great. They've been talking about this for about 3 years now, but they make it look like it's a brand new thing. Mindfulness has been around for 3,000 years. Mm-hmm. Right. And so and then it was it came into this country in the 70s. Then it's sort of, with all the commercialism that happened with the 80s, it sort of got pushed aside. Oh, it's like people are kooky. But now it's coming back because I think we're all very hungry for something. We're feeling very lost. Our spirits are just, like you said, we're 24/7. We're never off. Our spirits are just burnt out. We don't understand that piece of it. We don't know why. And so we're craving this, but we still don't know how to let go of the other stuff. And so you have to consciously make be aware that you have been the victim. And then you have to consciously say, no mas, no more. Right?
Well, yeah, I think like what the Empowering Process podcast says, that it's easier to give up blame and float through life. And, I've always been labeled the troublemaker, the loudmouth, the conspiracy theorist, because it's not. I don't, to give up blame, to become a victim, it's like giving up on life. You give up on life.
Yes. You give up rights.
You give up on your life, and everything from victim to victor is just a simple choice of, this too shall pass. I got this. I believe, whatever it is. So I've always said, feed your spirit and starve your ego. But with all the things I've been reading, what I'm learning is feed your spirit daily, your spirit, not social media, not, enough with trying to match up somebody else's life. It's hard enough being me. I can't be nobody else. Me and my four personalities keep my ass busy. Okay? When one of us feels down, the other one's like, just light them firecrackers. You got to see me talking to myself. So now I believe it's feed your spirit, cultivate and nurture your ego, because you need that little thing of negativity in you too, just to weigh out and balance what you're going to do. So the ownership and accountability, it's sad if you are at our age and you still don't know how to do that. And I know people like that. And if you're working on it, then you know what? I'm going to cheer you on. We'll be your cheerleaders, because it's hard. It's hard, but you got to own your you. You got to be present in your now. You got to live your moment. And if you do that and you just block out for a while everything around you, then you can weigh out your life. It's not as hard, as difficult as people like say you got to go to 6 months of therapy or life coaching.
Wait a second now.
No, we got to go to a year. Not 6 months.
No,
12 months.
I was going to say, we need to be careful not to also victimize ourselves. I think there's plenty of people out there who do that. And you brought up the credit cards and the consumerism and all the things in that nature. And I think we need to be present. I think we need to be mindful. I think we very much need to learn how to sit with pain. And that is where, maybe therapy could be helpful, because that is not something that we really are wired to do, if you will. But if we can sit with the pain, we can sit long enough with it to go, okay, what do I really need to do about this? Not how do I need to gloss over it, to go get a new hairdo, to, go out and indulge in a margarita. All these one-off things that by themselves are not necessarily bad, but when we're doing that instead of addressing whatever that pain point is, that keeps us from being able to heal from it. Whereas if we can sit with it, we can go, okay, these are the decisions that were made. Maybe they weren't your decisions. Maybe, it's something that happened. I mean, we lose loved ones. That causes great deals of pain, and that may not have been a conscious decision on our part. But we can decide what we want to do with that pain and how we want to honor that pain, as opposed to covering it up and continuing to go and live on autopilot.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one. Sitting
with walk with it to walk through it. Pain, grief, let me tell you, grief and sorrow will always be in my back pocket until the day I die. It's always going to be that close to me. So you walk with it before you can walk through it. And I write that in my book, and you're so right. And so many people need to understand that. You have to feel that pain. You have to understand it in your core in order to continue on without blaming who's done what to you and where.
Well, because we can't understand pleasure unless, and we can't understand happiness and love unless if you understand pain, and I think that's you hit it, because you keep hitting these points. People want to avoid. That's been a big issue, is people, that part of the victimization piece is the avoidance piece.
Yes.
Is, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to pretend it's not here. I'm going to avoid it. And then I'm just going to, because I want everything to be happy as it is. And that is the rub, because that is such a bullshit. It's such an untruth. If you avoid it, it will pop its ugly head up at a later date, usually a hell of a lot worse. And it's very dishonoring to yourself. My mom does this, and my mom's a beautiful person. She's such a loving, wonderful lady. But my mother does not like confrontation. She does not like facing things. She does not like talking and speaking her truth. And as a result, she avoids certain situations. She pretends like it's not happening. She just looks the other way, or she makes excuses for it. And I see her, she's going to be 85 years old, bless her heart. She's still going. But I also feel like there's certain pieces of her physicality and even her physiological elements, like her functioning, her body functions, that are a little worse because of that element of her. I feel like if she could just say what she wants to say to the people that need to hear it, I think this big, huge thing would be lifted off of her. And I think she would literally stand up straighter. I think she would ache less. I'm a big believer of that. I mean, that's what I base all of my stuff on, is the fact that what we think here really, it comes out in the physical and physiological elements of the body. So if you're in pain, the pain might not be actual damage to your joint or ligament or whatever. It could actually be coming from what you're not dealing with emotionally.
Fair enough. Absolutely. And I think we have, and to your point, we victimize ourselves. There are certain things that other people look and they wonder, why are you doing that to yourself? You don't need to take that responsibility on for whatever, that situation is. And yet, it was, we need to be kinder to ourselves instead of embracing those awful moments and dwelling in those. Again, bringing back the mindfulness, balancing out. Yeah, I have things in my life that don't go well, but I have this that's going well in my life right in this moment, and I'm going to soak it up, and I'm going to enjoy that moment, and I'm going to hold on to it, which is also something that we're not taught to do.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you think, Gladiator Guru? What are your thoughts?
I was raised by an Italian mother and a Puerto Rican father, and they didn't play. They beat each other up. They shot. My mom shot him. They shot the guns off to other people. But my father always raised us that to speak up, even if they came to us with a complaint from somebody and they were yelling at us, for us to stand our ground and say, that's not what happened. And then we would go back. And that's how I raised my kids. We would go back to the person and say, well, I was, because if they were going to hit me over what someone else said, so it was always stand your ground. So I believe that, I think that somehow there's a generational loss. Like somehow with the generation, how we were raised and then how we raised, or how our kids are raising their kids, I think there was sensitivity was born more than a strength. Like everybody's so damn sensitive now. And they're not going back to what our fathers and grandfathers taught us. And we were taught how to be strong from an early age. Yeah, we were raised on survival skills, but we were also taught to stand our ground. And I took that with me at any employment. I didn't have a problem to be fired, or I would quit on the spot if I saw injustices or if I was being treated unfairly. I can be successfully unemployed. I never feared consequences from me standing my ground and owning my truth and living in my now. And I do that now. Let me tell you, with the losses I suffered with my dad, my husband, and recently my mom, I find myself going a little soft. But I think I need to nurture that part of Margarita right now. But I know that I'm not going to stay there, because being fierce and loving everything that's about me, all the scars and all the wounds that were caused, that I'm still going to be my owner. I am still going to be the owner of myself. I am going to be held accountable to what I believe in, what I stand for, and responsibility. I've been a caregiver for 10 years. That's all I did. So I take responsibility. If I'm wrong, okay, I'm wrong. So how are we going to fix this? Did I offend you? What part? Because I said a lot of shit. I'm gonna be held accountable for if you're offended by what I said, but you are going to take responsibility for what exactly was that offended you in anything and everything that I said. And that's how I walk in my life. And that's how I walk with my grief and my pain before I can walk through it, knowing that I can always revisit it when the time is right. So I'm, you know what? I'm a victim and a victor, but you know what?
We all are.
Between predator and prey, bitch, I'm a predator all day.
I don't doubt that one bit. And I think you brought up a good point, and I want to highlight it, and that is fear. So much of the victim or victor situation is caused by fear. Okay. Fear of, what if I take responsibility for this? What if I get over this? What does that make me? What if I don't get over this? What does that make me? Yes. The idea of our own internal fears and how they drive us and how they keep us from going that deep, right, is huge. And I think that goes back to the sit with the pain, but that, because nobody's really afraid of being happy. Well, maybe some people are afraid of being happy. Very often people are not afraid of being happy, but the idea of conquering our own fears and standing up to them is another one that really can differentiate whether or not somebody is a victim or victor in their own life.
You just brought something up. There are people who are afraid to be happy, Bridget, because they've been through so much of the victim mentality that every time I'm happy, something happens. The ground opens up, and so they stay miserable. They stay with a huge amount of trust issues towards anybody and everybody, even their own kids. You know, they stay second guessing every decision they make. And the minute they happy, they self-sabotage because something's going to go wrong anyway. Why am I going to bother? I know those people.
And it makes them correct.
Yes,
and it makes them right. So, and that's the other thing is we play those stories in our head. No matter what, we always want to be right. It doesn't matter. Like we could say, oh, I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. In our heads, though, we really do. Humans love to be right. So even if the story is crappy, it's like people love to say, oh, I told you that was going to happen. And it's like, really, you're owning that? Like, especially when it's something bad, you're like, you're telling me how happy you are that it failed, because you said it was going to be that way. And that's the program that has to change because we're used to that program. If you're a victim, you're used to that program. And for you to get out of it, it makes you uncomfortable because that's all you know. And so it's the fear of getting out of that comfort zone and stepping into a life that you've never known before, or maybe you've known in bits and pieces. But the reality is there's so many people out there that will be right by you. Maybe not your immediate people. We've talked about this on the show before, that if you've been a victim your whole life, everybody that knows you has also known you to be that way. And they're not going to be used to you switching when you've decided, hey, screw this, I've had enough. I'm not going to play the victim role anymore. I'm going to be the victor in my life. And then all of a sudden they're going to be like, wait a minute, that doesn't work for us because you've been the victim. I mean, of course, nobody uses these terms. They don't know this, but they're like, why are you acting like this? You're being stupid. You're being ridiculous. You're being too, insensitive and all this stuff. And they start trying to sabotage you to go back. But find a new tribe. Find new people to support you. And let's do that for the last few minutes. What can we do? What can we leave with people, the tribe, to say, to help them once if they become aware and they say, okay, you know what, I'll admit it. I play the victim a lot. I do this, what can we recommend to them to start on the process of shifting into a victor?
I think one of the things, you touched upon it, and it deserves to be highlighted, is that we often judge where we're at based on the reactions of others. Okay. And so for those people who are close to us, whether they be the family that we chose or the family that we're given, don't like to see change unless they're prepared for it. Right. Unless it fits what they feel is best for you, because they may want to protect you, but they're protecting you with their own biases. Okay. So they can't help themselves if what they want for you is not what you want for yourself. Right. So when you see people pushing back, you know that you're engaging in change. So rather than people are pushing back and then I'm stepping back, when you see people pushing back, that's when you lean forward into the change, because you're like, aha, this is working. I see people pushing back. Nobody is used to this new me. It doesn't mean that you have to get rid of those relationships necessarily. Some relationships you do have to. It will evolve.
Or at least for a while.
Absolutely. And that's part of the fear, right? But knowing that what you're doing is working and seeing that as validation instead of condemnation would be an excellent mind shift as you're trying to go through that change. And just understanding that you're throwing a whole deck of cards up in the air and we don't know how they're going to land. So sort of embracing, again, that fear of, I don't know how this is all going to turn out. I don't know how this is going to affect my marriage or my relationship with my parents or my relationship with my best friend. But I'm open to the journey and I'm going to lean in.
I like that.
I do too. I love the idea of leaning in. That's beautiful. Because we're not taught that. And it's actually not even that it's taught. It's internal. It's automated. When something is considered a danger, it's the fight, flight. They say the fight or flight mode, but I taught anatomy for years, and we used to actually say fight, flight, or fight. Fight, flight, or fright. So it's either you're going to fight it, you're going to run from it, or you're going to be paralyzed in fear. You're just going to sit down on the ground in a fetal position and hide. And a lot of times people hide, like that's not dealing with it. But if you're leaning into it, it is being more bold. And you're standing up for yourself. Because in the end, that's what you're doing. You're standing up for you. You are being the victor of your own life. You're the super fucking hero of your own life. So you are standing up and saying, no more, no more. You can't talk to me that way. You can't text me these pictures that are inappropriate. You can't say these things to me. You can't pay me that because I'm worth more. And we stand up, and it's the same. And it doesn't matter who you're talking about. It doesn't matter if you're talking about you to your parents, your siblings, boss, friends, your children. Because again, when you've played the victim role, everybody will treat you that way. You'll always have those nice people that were not disrespectful, but there's plenty of people that will be disrespectful to you, because people that and don't get me wrong, the people that are disrespectful doesn't necessarily mean that they're victors in their life. A lot of times they're still victims, but they're bullies. And they feel like, well, I'm a victim in my life, but I can take advantage of this person. It's going to make me feel better about myself. No matter what way you put it, they're still a victim.
And I think one of the topics that have been very hot for me to talk about is the idea of standards and boundaries. And standards are those rules that we have for interacting with ourselves in our own heads. And a lot of people focus on the boundaries of, well, I don't want that person to do this, and I don't want that person to do that, and I can't make my husband do this, and I can't make my kids do that. Well, no, you can't. But if you have the standards for yourself, which is, I'm out the door at 9 o'clock, whether you're ready or not, you don't have to make anybody do anything. Okay, so they have two, mismatched socks, or maybe they're not wearing socks at all. I'm referring to the kids. That's fine, because they know you're out the door at 9 o'clock. Why? Because that's the standard I have for myself.
Right. And you have to follow suit. You have to follow suit. That was an episode. It was funny. An episode in Everybody Loves Raymond. It was AIS, ass in seat. You have to be at 9 o'clock. You have to be in the ass in the seat in the car. And if you're not in there, we leave without you. And I love that. I say that to my kids all the time. AIS. We're leaving at 9:10 AIS. And they'll sometimes forget, and I'll say ass in seat. Your ass needs to be in that seat in the car. It's mostly for my teenager because she's doing her own thing. And then she'll come out when, but the little one's with me. But I'll say, we're not leaving past this. So AIS, ass in seat.
Without a doubt.
So standards. And then what was the other one that you said?
Boundaries. Boundaries are much, much harder to control. I can have a standard that I don't answer the phone after 9 o'clock at night. And eventually, those people who are used to calling me at 10, 11, 12 will realize, hey, every time I call at 10, 11, or 12, I get voicemail, right? But if I'm focused on them and I'm trying to set the boundary, I need them to not call me. You're not going to do that. And you'd be like, well, I don't understand why I don't have this relationship. They keep calling me at 10, 11, or 12 at night, and I can't make them stop. Well, no, you can't. We have to focus in on ourselves. So just let it go to voicemail, and eventually the people will catch up with you. Or they won't, and they'll just always leave a voicemail, and you'll always play phone tag, which is perfectly fine because that's on them, not you.
That's correct. That's beautiful. I actually love that. Right? What do you think of that, Gladiator Guru?
Because lately, I have been leaving when I'm busy doing something, whether I'm writing, whether I'm cutting vinyl. I leave my phone away. I just leave it somewhere and I leave it on mute. And when I'm done, then I'll get back to my phone. Because I was always too available, and it must be that caretaker in me. I was always available to listen to people. And finally I had to say, I'm a life coach. Why do they keep calling me for free advice? And why do I keep giving it? That people can do whatever. Right. Because even us, when we go somewhere, we want what we want. But it's up to somebody who says, no, we're closed. We're not serving ice cream at this time anymore, And what do we got to do? We leave. That's what we got to do. And so I have been doing that. And you know what? I love it. I love just staying focused on the task that I have. Mm-hmm. It's before I would tell you, tomorrow's the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. So
yes.
So yeah, that's what I think. So thank you. That was very important that you brought that up. Yes. Because it does save you. It gives you peace in knowing that right now I don't got time for nobody's shit. I'm focused on mine. And I've been getting a lot done that way.
So thank you. This has been, we're at the top of the hour, and Bridget, it's really lovely. I think Bridget really obviously just is spot on with stuff. And what I love too is your energy. You're so mellow. And that's what we loved about you too, was just that you're so matter of fact about it. And, we have to be that way. In order to honor ourselves, we have to be very matter of fact about it. We can't be emotionally attached to it and say, well, what if, and if I let this go, just let it the F go. If it is not serving you, and you have to be, and that's mindfulness practice right there, is non-attachment. Don't attach to the things that no longer serve you. Move forward. And so, and how do you do that? It is possible to do that. It does take training. But if you have a grown ass child, for instance, and they're an adult, for God's sakes, and they're doing things and you're a part of it, you need to just say, no more. I'm not doing that for you anymore. I'm not doing it. And I don't care what they say, how they say it, blah, blah, blah. but they are dishonoring you, and then you're letting them do that. So this has been a very wonderful conversation. And Margarita, you have anything else that you want to say to Bridget before we go?
No, I love the conversation, and I love that. That's what it was. We were trying to figure out, what do we love about you? And it's because we share the same look on things. A lot of things you said, I have already written about in my book. And so I believe you 110%. That's one. And two is that I am, like, my parents created walking time bombs. I'm full of passion. I am full of, like, when I speak, I go like this, and then people are like, why are you so loud? And I'm like, but I'm just having a conversation. But and you're like so even. And it's like having straight hair and you have curly hair, and I wish I had your hair, but everybody said, oh, I love your straight hair. You know, it's that sort of thing. But I am who I am. I honor every single thing about me, every pound I have on me, you know, every wrinkle that's forming in my almost 53-year-old face. So let me tell you something. I do love to see a difference, how we can share the same insight and then be so different in how we speak. So thank you for being who you are.
Yes, thank you. And Bridget, anything last minute that you want to say?
Just honor who you are. I think that would take people far.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes. And for tribe members, if you want to reach out to Bridget, there's her website, bridgetrichard.com, and you can connect with her on there. I'm sure you can connect through email or contact her in any way. But just definitely check her out. She's a very cool chick, and we were very privileged to have her on today for our conversation. On Thursday's show, we will have Sophia McMorris teaching us about the art of self-mastery. So very nice conversations that we have this week for empowerment. And yes, Wednesday starts, what is it? National
Hispanic. You know, I don't go.
I know you don't like that word.
Hispanic, but
Hispanic Heritage Month, right, for the whole month.
Yeah, I get excited. I get excited for my Boricuas, but yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. That was good. You just said something that made me want to say something.
I don't know. So the self-mastery?
No.
Self-mastery? Okay.
No, Arlene, good morning. No, I didn't know it went. Okay. But yeah.
Well, so we will see you all on Thursday. And remember, from the Badass Buddha, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.